Michael Lombardi is here in studio from The Ringer. Good to see you, Michael.
Good to see you, Rich. Good to be here.
NFL news is popping all over the place as Miami goes to the free throw line to try and seal the game against the Syracuse Orange. You just let me know how everything works out, okay, Brockman? Will you do that, please?
And Tebow's coming up.
Oh, that's right. Tim Tebow's back.
He batted 8th in the lineup.
Do you know who's batting 9th, protecting him?
I heard you say
Lee Mazzilli's kid.
I can't believe he came over your house. I couldn't believe that.
His dad was a piano tuner. Lee Mazzilli's dad was a piano tuner in Staten Island, New York. Yeah.
That's awesome. Can you play the piano?
Well, I can play the Charlie Brown theme. I could play the first couple of bars of the Hill Street Blues theme because that was hot when I was taking piano lessons.
I want to learn the piano just to play Vienna Waits for me. That's kind of what the only song I want to learn.
Billy Joel Vienna is as underrated a Billy Joel song.
Underrated, completely underrated.
Of all time.
Of all time. I want to hear Vienna Waits for me in Vienna. That would be the all-time dream,
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
Well, you know what you need to do is you need to go to Miami this year because it is finally Miami 2017.
There you go. That's right. I do.
We are finally in 2017.
I do need that. I need to write a column for The Ringer just on Billy Joel's song, equate it to. Because there's so much you could do with that.
Well, I mean, but you're the boss first, right? It goes Springsteen, then Billy Joel for you, Lombo?
But okay. It's close. It's really good. Yeah. I enjoy them both.
So let's start with the news happening now and the ripple effect that the Bills are keeping Tyrod Taylor. What does that mean?
I think it's smart because, look, Rick Dennison's the new offensive coordinator, so he comes from the Gary Kubiak school of offense, which I think really fits Tyrod Taylor well. It's bootleg, play action, a lot of run, play action, pass type passing game, which cuts the defense in half and gives Tyrod Taylor half of the field to read, and then he can read high-low. I think it's the perfect offense for him. It's not a great offense if they get behind in a game quickly, but with Sean McDermott as the defensive coordinator, head coach now, I think it's the perfect fit for him, and he should stay somewhere where he can get comfortable. He knows the players around him.
Yes.
I think it's a smart play by Buffalo. I really do.
And I guess folks like LaShawn McCoy have got to be happy, and everybody else around there.
Right. Buffalo's offense is got a chance because of their running game and the zone blocking the way that Rick Dennison likes to run it. I think they can be effective offensively. Taylor did a good job of protecting the football last year. If they get behind in the games, it's not going to be easy for him. But I like his potential, his ability to run with the ball. Look, based on the market that's out there right now, I think Taylor did the smart thing, and I think Buffalo did the smart thing.
So that's the Tyrod Taylor re-signing in Buffalo, staying put on a better deal for, I guess, the cap purposes. That's the stone thrown into the quarterback free agency pond. What are the ripple effects?
Well, then, as you said, Romo's coming out tomorrow, so that's going to have a huge ripple effect. San Francisco's looking for a quarterback. Chicago's looking for a quarterback. That leaves Jay Cutler. Where does he go? And then, of course, the Jets are looking for a quarterback. So I think there's going to be a lot of – and then what are the Houston Texans doing? Are they going to go with Brock Osweiler? I think, are they going to make the play for Tony Romo? What's Arizona going to do? I think there's so many different – there's always a team that's sneaky in the background on quarterbacks that don't really let it out because they're unhappy with their play of their quarterback. It's Ryan Tannehill didn't get the operation on the ACL. That seems strange to me, only because that's concerning because it could happen again. But I think the first thing that's going to happen is these free agents. I think Brian Hoyer is going to decide between San Francisco or the Jets
as a starter.
I think he'll come in as the starter, and then eventually they're going to get a guy to replace him. Now, Kyle Shanahan indicated that he doesn't want to do that. I think the Jets need to do that. They need to get somebody they can build their offense around as they develop some of these other players.
Hold on a second. Let me hit this then. I had to take a breath.
Okay.
You're telling me with Todd Bowles' job on the line and Mike McCagnon coming in and drafting Hackenberg 51st overall last year, that the choice for Jets fans after Brady's won his 5th. I'm sorry. This is you can't say everything in a vacuum. This is not in a vacuum. We don't live in a vacuum here, okay?
Right.
Brady's won his 5th. That you're saying to Jets fans, we're going with Brian Hoyer week 1. Is that the message?
I think
for real?
I think the most important message you could tell Jet fans is, and I did these 32 fixed teams for the Ringer. And the Jets had the most needs of any team. Now, I could have gone more on a lot of other teams, but the Jets, I think, had 6 team needs. I think what Woody Johnson has to send the message from over in Ireland or wherever he's
the UK from 10 Downing Street.
From 10 Downing Street. I wish I was there. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he's got to say, look, it's going to take a long time to fix this mess. This is not going to be something that's easy.
But they almost made the playoffs 2 years ago.
I understand that, but that team kind of has run its course.
Okay.
They're in rebuilding mode all the way. And I think they should extend Bowles' contract. I think they should tell the fans, if we learned one thing from the process in Philadelphia with the 76ers, if we learned one thing, If you tell fans what you're going to do, you can get people to buy into it. And I think the Jets should just come out and say, look, we're going to take some time to rebuild this team. We're going to develop a quarterback. We're going to sign Brian Hoyer. This is not a quick fix. We're not going to compete with the Patriots overnight. We have to set expectations to a point where you could really understand it. And I don't think that's something that's done enough in the NFL. It worked in some areas, but I think they have to be honest with their fan base. This is not going to happen just overnight.
So Hoyer signed. Does that mean Hackenberg's a backup? Does that mean Chris Law? Because we have a couple of Rich Eisen show prop bets. No, Chris Law's a Hackenberg hunk because he's a Penn Stater, right?
Of course.
I've compiled a list of members.
Is Lombo on the list?
I've compiled a list, Mike, of members of the national media, listeners to the Rich Eisen show, and just in general haters on the Hackenberg draft pick. As I quickly scan it here, I'm up to about 30 names. I do not see Michael Lombardi on this list.
I don't think I did him last year. I was at the Patriots last year for the draft. I thought he was, he looked better as a workout player than he did in the games. There's a lot of people that tell you that have been around Hackenberg, he's a really talented athlete. I just didn't see it in the games when he played at Penn State. I thought when the game got faster, he had to throw the ball in rhythm. When the ball had to come out in rhythm on timing, his accuracy went down. I wasn't a huge fan of him.
So, here are the two Rich Eisen show prop bets, and then we're going to take a break, and we're going to talk about Garoppolo and Romo and everything else. Okay. What comes first? Tom Brady wins his 6th Super Bowl, or Hackenberg starts a game for any of the 32 teams in the National Football League. Which would you choose?
I'm going to take the Hackenberg one because, look, anybody can start a game. Anyone can start a game. Can we go through some of the list? I think Buffalo's had 17
just
guys
starting a game for any 32 teams.
Can you go through some of those names that are out
Rombo
there?
may not be on the list here. And Evan back in the Los Angeles Broadcasting Center, can you put up the live shot on the Rams.com, please, of the hole in the ground there in Inglewood, California? I don't know if you're aware, the Rams on their website, Lombo, have a live shot of the building of Casa Kroenke. There's that large hole in the ground. We said, what comes first? Hackenberg, is it wins a game or just starts a game?
I believe it was still just
starts a game. Or the club level of that hole in the ground gets built. Just looking at this live shot, it's a beautiful day in Inglewood right now.
I know nothing about construction. I can't even hang a picture on the wall, so it's going to be hard for me to kind of see this actually coming through.
Club level.
I'm going to go club level here for Hackenberg to win a game.
All right.
Although, I see
that's the baby.
I see that field there. Is Tavon Austin going to score a touchdown on that field?
That's another one. I don't know.
You could do a Tavon Austin bet over there.
$44 million.
Yeah, do you know the Rams have 2 players, $40 million? They have 2 players. Austin's at 14, 16. There's $30 million in 2 players that you just scratch your head and say, really? Austin, 12 touchdowns in his career, gave him $14 million.
And who's the other one?
Tremaine Johnson, $16 million.
Well, there's word that they're willing to trade him.
Of course they're willing to trade him. Who wants to? Oh, okay, yes, they're willing to trade. This is what I love about the media. The reports are out there that they're going to try to trade Tremaine Johnson. Okay, Rich, you have to pay him $16 million. Oh, by the way, give me a draft pick on a draft that has more defensive backs than ever seen. The slowest defensive back time at corner was 4.61 on my sheets. 4.61. They're all size speed corners. I'm going to give up a draft pick so I can pay $16 million? Come on. Really?
Lombardi, who'd you tweet about yesterday? Somebody that told you that you only have to beat 8 teams in the NFL, and you were referring to a move.
Yeah, it's hilarious. So anyway, the Redskins, this whole thing with the Redskins and Scott McCloughan is hilarious. It's not hilarious. It's an unfortunate situation. It's a divorce that's waiting to happen. It's really about, Scott's owed 2 more years of money on his contract. The Redskins, it's going back and forth. So I tweeted out that, look, Bill Walsh at 84 told me this. He said, look, we're only...
In 84 or at age 84?
In 1984, I was running around the draft. It was my first draft in the NFL. We ran 12 rounds in one day. I'm running around the draft room, and the Falcons did this, and they did... And he grabs my arm and says, Michael, relax. We're only competing against 8 teams. So I tweeted that out, and the Redskin fans immediately come back at me, well, we won in 84. I wasn't talking about you in 84. I was talking about you currently.
So one of the 8 teams that Walsh would have considered as... in 84 would have been the Redskins.
Easily would have been. In fact, he even said, tell me when the Redskins do something, tell me when the Giants do something.
So what was he referring to about the other teams in the NFL, though?
That they really never compete for a championship. That they're just there. That there's only 8. You're really only competing against 8 teams. And that was when we had 28 teams in the league. And today you're really only competing against 8 teams. All the other teams are fluffing around saying they're competing. But at the end of the day, it's an 8-team league that you're competing against. And the Redskins all due respect to Mr. Snyder, and they're not one of the 8 right now. You don't have that much civil war going on in your building to think that you're going to compete. It's hard enough to beat the Patriots. It's hard enough to beat the good teams in the league. But when you're trying to beat yourself at home, you can't win.
Michael Lombardi from The Ringer. Again, check it out on The Ringer right now. A great piece that you have about fixes for all 32 teams.
All 32.
And Lombo's going to be here for at least another segment or two. Next up, I want to hit Jimmy G, where Garoppolo may or may not be going, or what the plan is for him. And then obviously Romo and how that affects everything. And then I do want to hit the combine because some of these kids were ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. And you already made mention about how it does affect the free agent market.
Really does.
And what teams do in the front offices. Michael Lombardi from The Ringer, theringer.com. Go check him out at M Lombardi NFL. And when we come back, there will also be a Tim Tebow live update, right? Your Orangeman went down, correct? The Orange went down?
Orange went down,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
And Tebow has had his plate appearance against Rick Porcello.
Wow. The reigning American League MVP, Cy Young Award winner, taking on Tim Tebow, or vice versa.
Vice versa.
That's next here on The Rich Eisen Show. Michael Lombardi from The Ringer here on The Rich Eisen Show. Before we dive back into football, we have an update from Port St. Lucie, Florida, where the designated hitter batting 8th today against the reigning American League Cy Young winner Rick Porcello is none other than one Tim Tebow.
That would have been my only guess.
What did he do, Mike Del Tufo? Good drop right there. What did he do, Chris?
First pitch, strike one.
Looking, not swinging.
Okay. Second pitch, swing and a miss, strike 2.
0-2.
Third pitch, outside corner, pull the string.
Called looking?
Strike 3.
So he was caught looking, three and out?
No, 4 pitches. Second pitch was a ball.
Okay.
Then swing. Yeah.
Wow. It's a tough racket in that baseball now. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do. I don't know. This is, look, I've said all I could say about Tim Tebow as a football player. I don't leave it to the baseball scouts.
Yeah, I know. Everyone goes like low-hanging fruit with Tebow, obviously. But did he ever, based on your knowledge, ever consider trying tight end, running back, fullback? I know that Bill Belichick brought him into camp, and obviously he's the guy that might have been able to make him see the light, if you will, on that front.
And just talking to people around the Patriots when Tim came in, I think the feeling was Tim was about Tim. And Tim wanted to prove that Tim was Tim. And there's something bigger than Tim. And this, and so it wasn't like everybody has this perception that it's all about the team and Tim's all for the team. I think that's a little miscued. I think Tim's about Tim, and Tim wants to have his career, and good for Tim.
Michael Lombardi here on The Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
So how good is he? I mean, seriously, how good is he as an NFL quarterback?
In New England, there's always a period. Most teams do this. After practice on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's opportunity period, whatever you want to call it, basic. The Patriots call it basic, where your young players would go out there and take reps. I watched Garoppolo for 2 years throw the ball in those periods. I think Garoppolo is sensational. I think Garoppolo is a top quarterback. I think he has tremendous potential. What he did in the first game and in the first half of the second game didn't surprise me at all. I think he's got a really good understanding. His teammates love him. You go into the cafeteria, all the offensive linemen are sitting with him. He's got great leadership skills. He's got all the talent to be a starting quarterback in the NFL and a successful starting quarterback in the NFL. So for Belichick, the hardest thing to do in sports is to trade somebody that you don't really know what you're trading. Like, you could trade a guy and think, well, I think he's a good player, but I don't. I better take this. If you have a known commodity, this guy's a starting quarterback. Ted Thompson knew Aaron Rodgers was a really good player. Maybe not everybody else in the league did, but Ted did. He wasn't willing to trade him. I think you hold on to him and then see what happens, because you just don't know. Al Davis was really good. I think Al did this because he didn't want to make decisions, Rich. But being patient is not a bad thing. And so if you hold on to Garoppolo for a modest salary, you have 2 really good quarterbacks, and then 40-year-old rich Tom Brady goes out and plays and sees what happened. And then you can determine next year what really you need to do. I think it's a smarter play than just saying, I'll take the 12th pick. Who is the 12th pick? Who are you going to get at that pick? Is he as good as Garoppolo? No, he's not going to be as good as a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Michael Lombardi, formerly of the Patriots front office and the Browns front office and the Raiders front office, is our insider, and the Insider Report brought to you by the all-new 2017 Honda CR-V with available quick heating seats and real-time all-wheel drive. You are going to be comfortable even when the roads are not. Hurry into your local Honda dealer to find out how perfectly the CR-V fits your life. That said, if you were back in the front office right now and you had Bill Belichick's ear, would you say, if Hugh Jackson calls us at 12, sold?
I say no. In fact, I did this for my video on the Patriots. The first thing I said to fix the Patriots: don't trade Jimmy Garoppolo. Don't, because you know he's a really good player. You're not going to get the value. You're going to undersell this.
A 12th overall pick and maybe something else is not value for somebody's
for a starting quarterback, especially when your quarterback is at. Now, I know Tom's probably going to play forever. Okay,
you have to give that caveat with him. I understand, but he's going to be 40 when it all kicks off.
There's no history. There's no history behind a 31-year-old head coach in the NFL being successful. There's no history behind a 40-year-old quarterback going on and having success. Brady might be able to take everything away and make his own history. And Sean McVay may be able to make his own history for the Rams. But there's no precedent, and why would you go against the odds?
So then what are the Browns going to do? What do you think Hugh Jackson is, Sashi Brown, and everybody sitting in Cleveland is thinking right now, Lomo?
I think they're probably thinking A.J. McCarron. Everybody thought he was going to become a free agent, but because he didn't get a vested season, they're going to have to trade for him. And, maybe Hugh can deal with Mike Brown on a trade.
Because obviously he knows everything about A.J.
He knows everything about A.J. McCarron, so where else is he going to go? They're not in the Mike. It doesn't sound like they're in the Mike Lennon sweepstakes.
But why would the Bengals trade him within division? Why in the world would they do something like that?
Because maybe the Bengals know what they have with them. It's the same reason why Belichick traded Drew Bledsoe to Buffalo. He knew what he was. He felt comfortable making that trade. If you feel comfortable with the player and you know what the player is, isn't it kind of ironic that you go play against the guy then you could defend him really well? You know what his strengths and weaknesses are, so you go take those away. So everybody talks about don't do that, but if you know him, then you could take away his strengths and weaknesses.
Is Myles Garrett first overall?
I think there's no question about that. Yeah, look. If you're Cleveland, you want to do two things in this draft. You want to get some blue chip players. You've had all these draft picks. You had how many last year? 16 picks or whatever they had last year. You need a blue chip rusher. You need somebody who can look. If you're going to build a team, get a left tackle, get some pass rushers, and get a quarterback. All the other stuff you can figure out a way along the way. But if you don't have a left tackle that can block, they do with Joe Thomas. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a pass rusher, they don't have one there. They need to get a pass rusher that can dominate the game Von Miller style. And I think if you can get Myles Garrett, you should do it.
And then what about the quarterback then?
That's the problem.
Is he in this draft? What do you think of the quarterbacks?
I think Deshaun Watson's an interesting player. I think Deshaun Watson's a little Allen Iverson in the sense that he's going to not be Iverson would shoot 9 of 30 from the field, and you'd say, wow, horrible shooting night, but they won the game. He made 2 or 3 plays in the game that won the game. I think Cam Newton's like that too. Cam Newton's not a great percentage completion passer, but he makes a lot of plays to win the game for the Panthers. I think Deshaun Watson's like that. I think Deshaun Watson, if you're going to evaluate his accuracy, you're going to say, yeah, he's not quite good enough. And I agree. But I think he makes a lot of plays and in the right system and the right offense. And the other thing that makes Deshaun Watson, to me, so unique is the fact that you can build your organization around him. He can be the front guy for your team.
No question.
He has got great character. He's got great work ethic. So you're going to instill that. Look, Jameis Winston isn't the most accurate quarterback either in the league. I mean, he throws a lot of interceptions. There's some pitfalls with his game as well that people tend to overlook. I think Watson's game has got NFL ability in the right system, the right scheme.
Alabama defense.
Look,
with the biggest stakes imaginable at that level 2 years in a row,
right.
He balled out. Both games, okay?
Right. That goes for something, Rich.
It has to, though.
And the head coach of Alabama, who throws praise around like manhole covers, thinks the kid's one of the best players he's ever played against in his life. That says a lot. And
so
I think
where does he go? Where does he go 12? Does he go 12 to Cleveland? Is he gone by then?
I think that
the Jets take him?
I think quarterbacks are like baseball stadiums. You have to design your team around a skill set. And so you design a baseball team around your stadium. You design your football team around your quarterback.
Yes.
And if I was a team looking for a quarterback, I think Watson's a guy I would want to design my team around and go all in with him and just say, look, the pitfalls are he's not going to be completely accurate all the time. We're going to live with that, but he's going to make 2 or 3 plays that are going to win the game for us. And build the right team around him and build the right style of offense around him. And I think that's what Carolina did with Cam Newton. I mean, Cam Newton's never really been a 60% completion passer. But if he's throwing it up the field and he's making plays, you don't have to be. We get too caught up in percentage of completion. What was the game that Sam Bradford was like 75% completion this year? He had like 110 yards passing. I mean, really. I'm 9 for 10. I mean, great, but he gained 4 yards.
Do you pull the trigger on a top 5 pick on Deshaun Watson?
I think you have to kind of let it all play out yet. I think it's too early to really figure out where it all going to play out because the combine just got done. You still have the medicals you have to get through. But to me, when you look at the quarterback class, I have a hard time thinking there's a better quarterback than Deshaun Watson in it.
But when you took a look at the quarterback class and compared to the rest of these kids, I mean, it was ridiculous, Mike.
Yeah.
Honestly, Mayock and I would just look at each other on occasion, watching these skills and drills and whatever, and we couldn't believe what we were seeing out on that field.
It's a good.
over the weekend.
Mean, if Al Davis would have been there to watch John Ross run that 40, he might have just ran and chased them right to the Raiders. It was remarkable. The kids are getting. We used to keep track of guys that ran below 4.4 every year, and there was always 6 guys maybe. This year, it's remarkable. Like I said earlier in the show, there's the lowest 40 time I saw at corner was 4.61, and these guys are 200 pounds. I mean, this isn't like 100. This isn't Buster Skrine at 159 soaking wet trying to run. This is guys that are 200 pounds.
Yeah, it's not Trey Archer or anything
like
that. No,
I loved your tweet about Trey Archer. I mean, it's the truth. Now, Ross has got to prove that he could stay healthy on the field. He can go inside.
Right.
A lot of receivers, it's about the offense that you go into and what offense they're going to ask them to do and what routes you're going to run. And I think that's where if you get Watson, you can build your team around him.
All right, 60 seconds. One more segment with Michael Lombardi from Bill Simmons, TheRinger.com. We do have some more quarterback news when we come back in 60 seconds. We're going to get some first blush reaction from you on that, Michael. I want to talk to you about Romo, and then our poll question is involved where Joe Mixon winds up. That's next here on The Rich Eisen Show. All right, welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show. Michael Lombardi here to give his 2 cents on so much going on in the NFL right now. What's the quarterback news you got in my ear about going to break, Mike?
Big quarterback news, Rich. Vince Young, he's back. Flying to Canada right now, working on a deal with the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
I think, Vince needs to go to Canada. I mean, Vince has had enough chances, or as the great Jamie Dukes used to say, VY. VY needs to go to Canada. I mean, VY needs to show people in the NFL, he wants to commit to being a player. He'll study, he'll work hard, and he's going to do the things he needs to do. He just can't waltz back into the NFL. He's had his opportunities, and if he's going to be a backup, what do you want from a backup quarterback? You want dependability, reliability, somebody who knows the playbook, somebody who's going to come in without a lot of reps and execute the offense. And Vince needs to prove in Canada that he can do those things.
Well, and good for him that he's going up there.
Yeah, I think it's a smart move for him.
So 30-17 record, though. Is it purely off the field stuff with him? Because on the field, he's
I think that's what makes Watson so attractive is because there's things that Vince Young did on the field that were really good, but when he got off the field, that you can't build your team around a guy that doesn't want to lead the other players.
What about Dobbs, who we had earlier on this year? What do you think of Josh?
I think Josh is I think his accuracy is very streaky. I think his accuracy is very streaky.
But you just talked about accuracy is something that you shouldn't hang your hat
but I
on
don't see
much.
the same amount of playmaking out of him that I see out of
Deshaun
Watson. And I mean, look at that Tennessee team. I mean, that Tennessee team now, they were lucky. They had a couple games that went down. They're like, oh my gosh. But look, these guys have to go in, they get trained, and like Watson's workout, when you go back and watch the tape of Watson's workout, it's really good.
It was great. He didn't miss any throws, and everyone on the field said he was, one of those magnetic type guys who.
The throw I always like to sit up there and watch is the 7 cut. It's the post corner where you fake in, and I always pretend, look, we're on, just pretend it's 3rd and 10 and we have to get a first down here against there. Most quarterbacks when you watch that drill, that's like 30% that they complete that pass. And Watson was really effective.
Let's ask the poll question on the Rich Eisen Show app at the Apple App Store, Google Play, or at the link at the top of our Twitter page at Rich Eisen Show, where Brockman put a fake hot take that I made up earlier in the show that's suddenly going a little bit hog wild, which about LeBron, by the way.
Over 100 retweets.
That's wonderful. So great.
Yeah, Lombo, we're talking about Joe Mixon. Great workout today at Oklahoma Pro Day. What round will he go? 1st, 2nd, 3rd to 7th, undrafted?
I think your owner, your organization has to set the policy for how you want to handle this. And I know through Mr. Kraft and his wife that there was 0 tolerance for domestic violence. So there's some teams that are just not going to have them on the board. And I think this comes from the owner. And you have to ask him, look, if we do our due diligence and we determine that this kid made one mistake and we want to go forward, that's really comes down to a philosophical question that the owner has to present. I would say probably sometime on Saturday, 4th on back.
Wow.
So we won't hear his name Friday night.
I don't think so. I think this is a risky proposition because I think it comes with the PR. You got to do your homework. Look, Tyreek Hill had the same situation. He went in the 5th round. And Kansas City said after the draft, we did all our homework. You can do all the homework you want. You just have to have an organization that's willing to proceed going through this and deal with it. Not many teams can.
Let's talk about Romo. What happens when Dallas releases him as expected on Thursday?
Well, if I were in the league and I was working for the Houston Texans, I would get Bob McNair's private plane and I would fly to Dallas and I would sit down with him and say, look, we have a really good football team and we have some really good young talent on offense. We need to fix our offensive line. You are the missing link to our team to get us over the top. We could beat New England if you were on the field. You put Romo on the field against the Patriots in the first playoff game, and it might be a different game.
That's what we talked about.
And so
earlier in this show, the day after it happened.
I just think you have to have, look, and you can't cut Osweiler. You cannot cut him. So he's going to be on the team. So it's the perfect situation. Let Osweiler watch Romo for a year or two as you get your team better, and then maybe he can come and turn his game around. I don't believe that. I'm just saying that. I don't believe that. But I think that that's the reality. And if I were Houston, that's what I would do. But the hardest thing to do in pro football, the hardest thing to do is evaluate your own team and be honest with yourself.
Sure.
And so are the Texans going to be honest that they need a quarterback? I'm not sure.
Well, the reason why they won't be honest is because they're on the hook for so much money, or they truly do believe. It would be fascinating to me if what you just proffered happens, because looking Romo in the eye is something the Texans didn't do before signing Osweiler with Osweiler.
Correct. And that's the problem, right? So you got to feel comfortable, and you want to build your team around this guy. To me, if I'm Billy O'Brien, I get on that plane, Rick Smith, Bob McNair, we all fly up there, we sit down and we say, hey, here's the kind of team we want to have, and you're the guy that can do it for us. To me, and the thing that makes Romo so attractive for Houston is I know the durability is going to be a question mark, okay? But you have a starting quarterback, or you think you do. I don't think he's a starting quarterback, Osweiler. But you have one, I call him the heist, because I think he really ripped off a lot of money from with tons of heist. But the reality of it is here.
So he's the Maury the Wigman.
Exactly.
Or that would be, hold on a second, it would either be Osweiler's agent or Rick Smith, Maury the Wigman, because he was cultivating that caper.
Exactly. Yeah, okay. Jimmy Sexton could have been more.
Okay.
But anyway, so the reality here is I think he's the perfect fit for him. And, Kansas City's come out and said they're not interested. So I think Kansas City would be a good fit for him.
Well, the thing is, teams aren't interested if they got to trade for him. Okay, because
Correct.
because there's conversations with other teams, and then obviously things can get out. Matters get dicey when you don't land said person with
Right.
the guy who's still sticking around.
Right.
I mean, you figuratively, if you will, unzip your fly, and then there's all sorts of problems. A lot of teams have said they're not interested. I'm wondering if that tune changes because all you got to do is call up an agent for an unrestricted free agent,
Right.
as opposed to having to go give up treasure to go and have a conversation about getting somebody. I'm wondering if that changes.
Right. And I think Tony has a list of teams. I'm sure there's only about 3 or 4 teams.
What do you think those teams are?
I would think Houston would be one of them. I would think that any team that has a chance to legitimately compete for a Super Bowl who's a quarterback away. Now, there's a lot of teams that are quarterback away, but like just hypothetically, Kansas City, if they were legitimately interested. Denver, would they be legitimately interested? They're a quarterback away. Maybe it's not Paxton Lynch, it's not Trevor Siemian. Is it going to be Tony Romo? I think it's about the core team around them. I think Tony's list is going to be fairly small.
What about Washington? Do you think that could possibly be on Tony Romo's list?
I cannot imagine that he would want to get into the mess known as in our nation's capital. There's a lot of mess going on in Washington, and I just don't see that. There's a lot of things happening that behind the scenes in Washington I just don't think would be appealing to Tony to think that he could turn this around, and feel like this is going to be perfect.
Do you think Cousins does wind up in San Francisco?
No, I think the Redskins want to sign Cousins to an extension. I find it hilarious. The Redskins said last year they weren't going to pay him $15 million a year. They would never do it. So after 2 years, they paid him $22 million a year.
Well, I mean, right. I mean, total, it's almost close to $44 million.
I know. And they have no leverage. I mean, it's the funny thing when you look back on these negotiations and you say to yourself, you have no leverage. I mean, Washington acted for 2 years now that they had all the leverage.
Right.
They've had no leverage. The kid plays good, you have no leverage. At some point, you're going to have to concede and make a deal. And the only leverage you have is to go to Kirk and say, look, Kirk, we got to make a friendly deal so we can sign some other players. You can't take all the money. You can't eat all the pasta. You got to have somebody else who's got to eat.
But he's not the one who's coming to the table with the napkin tucked into his shirt saying, "Feed me." I mean, he's the one who's saying, "Look, you want to go year to year at this ridiculous rate? Sold."
That's what makes it so ridiculous. It makes it so stupid that they think that they have leverage in this. The arrogance of them to think that they have leverage in it. Really, and Rick Smith, the agent for Kirk Cousins, has had Mike McCarthy and Mark Bartelstein, that group, Priority Sports. They all know they have leverage.
What about Adrian Peterson's market? What do you think?
I don't think there's a huge market for Adrian Peterson. I think, look, if you look at Peterson's first 3 games, he averaged under 2 yards a carry. He struggled coming off the injuries. A lot of miles on the running back. Do I think he can be an effective player in spots? But show me the history of a back who's at the end of his career, who's gone to another team and has resurfaced his career again at the other team. It's been very difficult.
I think he's one of those, the same way that you had to put a caveat about talking about Brady at 40. I think you got to put a caveat of him right now.
I
don't
agree,
you think?
But Rich, it's got to translate to dollars. And I think Peterson's financial wherewithal, he's due to make $18 million. Is he willing to take a trim down to 2 or 3?
That's what you think that's.
I don't think there's going to be a heavy market for him. I don't think there's going to be one at all.
If he does raise his hand and say, okay, I got it. If I want to keep playing $3 million a year, do you think Ted Thompson would cough that up? Have him? Law came up with the reverse Favre 10 days ago.
If you were
what do you think?
If you were playing poker against Ted Thompson, you would suspect that would not be a move he would make. That would not be a move he would make. That's not in his DNA.
So Adrian is not spiking on the river in Green Bay, is that what you're saying?
No.
Wait, hold on. Hate to interrupt you guys. Tim Tebow's up with the bases loaded.
Get out of here.
Here's the first pitch.
Are you doing the play-by-play of it?
Oh, he got a pitch right down the middle. Took a big swing. Foul ball, strike 1.
Foul ball. Where? Which way? Where'd it go? Back?
Left.
Did he just miss it?
Back and to the left.
Oh, so he was late on the swing.
He was late on the swing.
Yeah.
He's very late on all of his swings.
Okay.
Here's the replay.
Here we go.
I mean, it's almost in the glove when Tebow makes the swing.
0-1. Is Porcello still up there? Is Porcello still out there?
No, Porcello's not out there.
Okay.
All right. Sox are up 4-3, Rich.
Who cares?
It's the bottom of the 4th.
Can you paint the word picture here for crying
Here's the
out loud?
0-1. Check swing, Tebow. Snap, throw to third. Safe.
Okay. So was it a ball or a strike?
We haven't got the call yet.
He checked his swing, and they called it a strike.
Called strike 2.
Honestly, you're the worst play-by-play announcer I think I've ever heard. Come on. Right now, you're describing.
You have a TV in front of you.
I don't. It's not
TV in
It's
front
not
of you.
part of the freaking sports mix.
It's on MLB Network. By the way, Tim Tebow's wearing number 97. Man, his guns are out of control.
All right, hold on a minute.
All right, here's the 0-2 pitch. Tebow. It is not weird stance. High, little change-up action, ball 1.
Can't change the channel. Lombo, do you want to help me out
Channel
here?
213 on
Trust me,
direct
I
TV.
messed this up in my own house. I don't know if I can do it
Guy
here.
in the stands wearing a Tebow Jets jersey.
Oh, that's good.
Whoever's
Is that-
directing this,
Please tell me it's not my nephew.
Oh my gosh!
Hold on a
I
minute.
mean, Tebow's guns are out of control. Here's the 1-2. Oh, foul ball.
Foul ball.
Stays
Okay, I was
alive.
able to change the channel here.
Are you
He's
on
making
it?
contact. That's a good thing.
What is? I don't even.
213 on DirecTV. Rich.
Thanks
Come on.
very much. My DirecTV only goes to 239 or 212. That's basically it.
That's no good.
You got it, Rich.
There we go. There we go. There's Tim Tebow batting number 97. Here he is.
Got a little Jeff Bagwell in his stance.
Stepping in the left-handed batter's box.
Looks like Kevin Moss.
Everybody, bases full of Mets. Bases full of Mets. There's nobody out, too. All he needs to do is just get his bat on the ball, and he swings, and here's a ground ball. Room service hop for a double play. 4-6-3.
RBI.
No RBI, but the Mets have tied the game. Number 97 trots back to the dugout.
They're cheering.
There they go. And they're cheering. All right, he made contact with the ball.
There you go.
Did he ground out to who's the second baseman there this year?
We're tweeting from the show account,
it's
all
Pedroia,
capitals. Tim Tebow just tied the game for the Mets.
Please do that.
Yes. Fire.
Fire. Keep it 100.
I'm on it. I got it.
Yeah, the hot take after Dirk Lombo had 30,000 points now in his career is that
Tim
LeBron.
Tebow just tied the game. 4 exclamation points.
My hot take that we put out there is LeBron would have had 30,000 points by now, but he's too afraid to take the final shot. I don't believe that for a second.
You don't believe that.
I don't.
I don't understand all
we're
the
putting that out
LeBron
there.
hate. I don't understand, what more does
Because
the guy
there's
have
clicks.
to do?
Because there's clicks. There's clicks.
Lombardi,
It's easy.
understand
He's
what's
so
more
easy.
He
guy
just
has to do.
apologized.
Like,
he just
I don't get it.
apologized to his wife yesterday for trying to be great and not being around the family. Like, you throw stuff like that out there, it's a little bit of the J.J. Watt rise and grind. Like, we
It's
get
all right.
it.
It's
You're
the 21st
working hard.
century. It's the 21st century. I love LeBron.
I put J.J. Watt on that flight to go see Romo, too. I put as many guys as I could on that flight.
I would too. We'll see what happens. It starts tomorrow. Thanks for coming on,
Thanks,
Lombo.
Rich. I
Love having you on. A
Love
national treasure, Mike Lombardi at theringer.com. Check it out.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.